Hi guys, today we are talking about comparatives and superlatives. What is that? Every time that we want to compare something, порівняти щось, we need a comparative. We use it when we compare two different things. For instance, today it's much sunnier than it was yesterday, or this movie is way more exciting than the one I saw yesterday. And now, when we want to talk about the highest level, the highest grade of our comparison, we need a superlative. It shows that someone or something is at the highest or at the lowest level or in a group of different items or people. For example, today was the best day of my life, or that's the most interesting book I have ever read. Now, how to form them, how to make comparatives and superlatives? Well, we actually have only two different ways for each of them, and what we have to pay attention to is actually just the length of the word. We have to look at how long our word is or how many syllables it has. So I'm reminding you the syllable is sklad in Ukrainian. So we need to see how many syllables the word has. Як багато складів у нашого слова. If we have a very short word, if it only has one syllable, then it is easy to remember. Everything we need is just to add er to make a comparative and est to make a superlative. For instance, tall, taller, the tallest. Високий, вищий, найвищий. So, for instance, another word, we have the word kind. It also has just one syllable. Kind, kinder, and the kindest. So, for one syllable adjectives, it's all the same, just er or est and in the end. Now, if we have two syllable adjectives, it already does not mean that we will have to add er, est. But if our word has two syllables and it ends with the y letter, then we still do the same. We add est, but we change our y to I and then add est. It works just the same with one syllable word. If it ends with y, we still have to change it to I and then add est or er. So for instance, sunny, it has two syllables, sunny. So we changed our y to I, sunny, and added est and er, sunnier and sunniest. Now, if our word has two syllables but does not end with y, or it has even more syllables than two, then we use something else. Then we do not change the word in the end, but all we do is just add in the beginning two different words. For comparatives, it's more, and for superlatives is the most. So exciting, more exciting, and the most exciting. The word stays the same. It does not change at all. Now we have something called irregular adjectives. These are the adjectives that are different in their comparatives and superlatives forms. So we cannot add er, est, or more, the most to them. They are a bit different. For instance, little is less, the least. Sorry, I've had a mistake with this one all this time. That's when we talk about amounts. I want you to notice that. For instance, трошки or небагато, not when we are talking about sizes. For instance, I have little milk left in the fridge. It is now less milk than it was yesterday, but it's not the least I've ever had. Far changes to further, sometimes also further, and the furthest, or sometimes the farthest. Далеко, далі і найдалі. My friend lives very far from school, even further than me. However, she is not the one who lives the furthest. I'm pretty good in drawing, however, I'm not better than my grandma. She was the best at it. And better turns to worse, the worst. I had a very bad day today, but it wasn't worse than yesterday. Yesterday was probably the worst of the week. Now, something that you have to pay attention to. It's not that easy sometimes to understand how many syllables your word has. And what's going to help you is trying not to count the amount of vowel letters, but trying to count the amount of vowel sounds. For instance, with this one, it's pretty easy, right? You can see that there is only one I, so probably it's just one syllable, right? But we have another word, for instance, easy. So if you count the letters, if you count vowel letters, it looks like you have 3 syllables. But actually, no, you don't, right? Because that is one sound, E. So we do not separate that. We cannot say that E is already a syllable, right? So it has 2 syllables, the first one and the second one, and it ends with Y. That's why we change Y to I and can add ER and EST. So easy, easier, the easiest. Also, do not forget that every time that you form a superlative, it always has to come with the in the beginning. The most exciting, the sunniest, the tallest, the kindest, the least, the furthest, the best, the worst. However, you can see that in comparatives we do not use them, and it's actually a mistake to use that in comparative. We cannot say that she is the taller, it is the sunnier, and so on. Also, when you want to create a comparative, remember to compare it to something or someone, right? You cannot just say that, oh, my day is worse. Worse than what, right? You have to compare it to something. Or this t-shirt is more beautiful. Like, more beautiful than what? If you were having a conversation or you are in an environment that your friend or person you are talking to will understand what you are comparing, then of course it's not that necessary to always mention the thing you are comparing it to, right? You don't, for instance, let's imagine the situation, you are walking around the shops with your friend and choosing her a new skirt, and you're looking at the one and you're saying, oh, this one is better. You do not have to say this one is better than the one we were talking to before, right? No, of course then not. But if it's no context given, then of course most probably that it is a superlative if you do not have something to compare to. Also, I have just said that we always have to use that when we form a superlative, but actually there is one case when we cannot do that. It's when we have the pronouns, for instance, my, her, theirs, and so on, or numbers like the third, the first, the seventh, and so on. So after these words, we cannot use the. For instance, I cannot say that that is the worst nightmare. I will always say that is my worst nightmare because these words replace the word the. We can never combine that with such words. Or I have to say, she's my second best friend, not she's my second the best friend. Okay? Alright, there is another thing that we have to remember. So some of the words have the CVC structure. I'm pretty sure that I have already mentioned it a lot, right? But don't forget about it. CVC means preholosna, holosna, and preholosna, right? So if the word ends with this structure, we then have to double the final consonant and then add er, est. For instance, hot, it has the consonant, vowel, consonant, so it has to have 2t before we add er or est. Hotter, the hottest, and it works the same with others too. All right. Now, also when we ask about something that we want to compare, we usually use the word which because we give the options. And remember, I think it was a very first lesson that we talked about different questions, and I told you that when we have different options, right, then we use which. And then if the options are not given, when we have a lot of different options, then we use what. So in this case, we will mostly all the time use have different options. For instance, which is higher, Mount Everest or Kilimanjaro, right? Or which is better, this one or that one? However, if you are asking a question with a superlative, that's a different thing, actually, because you do not have any options, right? Because you are asking about a superlative, which is only one thing in a group. And the group can be pretty wide. For instance, what is the best book you've ever read, right? Or what is the most exciting movie you've ever seen? Then you use what, because you are not choosing between two things. Whereas when we use a comparative, it's always the comparison between two. So also when we are using the superlatives and talking about the group and we want to mention this group, we use in, not of. For instance, it's a very common mistake. Jacob's the fastest runner in the team, not of the team. And also there is a very good structure to use when we have a superlative adjective, then we have a noun and to plus infinitive. This is the easiest recipe to cook. That's the most relaxing spot to read a book. All right? And also some of the prepositions, some of the words that we have to remember while comparing something. If we want to say that something is the same as something else, we always use as. My cat is the same as yours, right? Not to yours and not with yours, not of yours. It's always as. When we want to say that something is similar, then we use another preposition. It's now to. So my cat is similar to yours. And now when we have different, it's always from. My cat is different from yours. There are other examples. My phone is the same size as yours. Her dress is a similar style to mine. This soup is a different flavor from the one we had yesterday. That's basically it. We do not have anything else to discuss. It's pretty easy. The only thing that you have to remember is pay attention to the amount of syllables, right? And then choose between ester and the most and more. And also please remember these irregular adjectives. They are the most common ones. Little, far, good, bad, okay? Have a good day. If you don't understand something, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help.